Right now there is 70, I think there's 71 cows out here right now. Had made a great marketplace myself. Our sales have climbed 20, 30% every year for the last 4 or 5 years. We were planning on building a storefront. I was GMO free. We want to grow a safe crop. We want to raise a safe animal. We want to raise it clean. Thought we were doing everything right.
When did this nightmare begin for you?
The nightmare itself really started probably in November of 2021. The government come to me and said they want to do a biosolid study. They come in here and did a mass testing, 400 or 500 soil samples. And then in December of 2021, they wanted meat samples.
Were you nervous at that point?
Oh yeah, I was scared. Gave them the meat samples, and a month later, they notified me that, oh, we need to do a Zoom meeting with you on Thursday. And I'm like, yeah, whatever, no big deal. And when I got on the Zoom meeting, it was 4 people I've never met before. And the guy's like, oh, we're so sorry this is happening, and blah, blah, blah. And I stopped him, like, what are you talking about? He goes, you don't know? And I said, no, I don't know. He goes, oh, he says, you have PFAS in your meat.
PFAS are known as forever chemicals. They were largely introduced to the world in the 1950s by 3M, and later on, DuPont, which made Teflon.
Teflon has a great future, and its uses will be many.
As early as the 1970s, 3M discovered that the chemicals were, quote, more toxic than anticipated. An internal document from 1981 found C8, a type of PFAS, in the blood of 8 female employees. 2 of them had children with birth defects. Now, there are thousands of PFAS in nearly everything we touch or consume. They're considered some of the most persistent toxic compounds in existence. They can build up in our blood and organs when ingested and have been linked to a number of serious health problems, including thyroid disease, liver damage, cancer, and fertility issues. When they were found on Grostek's land more than a year ago, Michigan regulators shut down his farm and ordered a seizure notice. He's now barred from selling his meat indefinitely.
First time I heard about PFAS was the day that we received the seizure. When it happened, we were good. We were selling the most meat we have. We have the most amount of animals we've ever had on this farm. We were at the farmer's market. We had a really good base of customers. I work at Livingston Educational Service Agency. We do preschool programs, and we sold meat to where I work, farm to table, and we were feeding it to the children. The next few months got a little difficult because I had to watch my husband start to sell pieces of the farm. He had to have an auction. It all got on display right here in front of our house for weeks, and then it was all gone. So just to watch him have to see that dream go away, it was really hard.
We knew right away it was the biosolids, that was the culprit of where everything was coming from. Biosolids were a great fertilizer source for us to go along with the operation.
In the early 1990s, the EPA was looking for a way to dispose of waste from wastewater treatment plants. So it recommended using biosolids, which are essentially treated sewage from homes and businesses, as fertilizer. But nearly 30 years later, in 2018, the EPA's Office of the Inspector General admitted the agency didn't know the impact that pollutants in biosolids could have on health and the environment. Regardless, states continue to offer biosolids to farmers, in some cases for free.
For free.
How much was going undetected to the city for many years, and of course, unfortunately, to the detriment of Mr. Grostek. Right. The state just wasn't doing this investigation on a whim. They didn't just pick Jason Grostek out of a hat and go to his property in the farmland in Howell, Michigan, and say, hey, let's see if PFAS is here. No, this was a lengthy, ongoing study.
In 2018, Michigan did something that had never been done before in the U.S. It tested water across the state for PFAS.
Michigan was testing the waters of the state to determine, are there high levels of PFAS in any of them, and if so, where's it coming from? And one of the bodies of water was the Huron River. Sure enough, the Huron River did have high levels of PFAS, so they tested upstream to figure out where it's coming from, and they determined there was a large amount coming from the Wixom wastewater treatment plant. So the state tested the various input points and determined that the highest test by far, by thousands of times, was Tribar.
Tribar is an automotive supplier that makes parts for big names in the auto industry, including Ford.
And did they know that they were doing that?
I guess what I'd tell you is the law says it doesn't matter. The law says that if you didn't know, shame on you. If you did know, shame on you. But the point is, you gotta know it's in your waste. If you are going to dump toxic industrial waste into a wastewater treatment plant, you have to know what's in it.
An internal memo obtained by Vice News shows that Tribar was using PFAS chemicals in its chrome plating plant since at least 2008, and that Tribar did not test for the chemicals. Local regulations did not require them to. So when Jason Grostick first accepted biosolids from the state of Michigan in 2010, it was contaminated with the chemicals coming out of Tribar.
Right here, paragraph 11. The monitoring and testing data of Tribar manufacturing's discharges shows that Tribar has violated its wastewater discharge permit.
In August 2022, Grostick filed a lawsuit against Tribar for millions of dollars. An early estimate put soil remediation alone at more than $600 million.
We've got grant money from the government that's buying us feed, but that still doesn't begin to cover the extra cost of doing business the way we're doing business. It gets tougher every day wanting to do it because there's no income from it.
What's the last year been like for you?
I tell people now it's like dying of cancer. It's there and you don't know when it's going to happen. Realistically, I don't think I have a future anymore. Nobody's ever going to buy meat from me again.
Are you all planning for what 5 months from now looks like?
No. Shit out of me. It's all I've ever done.
I apologize.
I built a reputation
I didn't know about the language.
to sell beef and build, for lack of better terms, an empire that my kids could run. And now there's nothing. You ready, bud?
We're gonna leave that cliffhanger right there, and I'll put the link in back in the live stream feed if you want to finish watching it.
Yeah, it's 42 minutes long, so.
Yeah. But there's a lot of things I can say about this.
Yeah,
For
it's
one,
pretty complex. Let's you do your take, and then I'll do my take.
Yeah, for one, this was the EPA's idea to share this, right? And to give it to farmers or charge them for it, and it was great, right? But it just so happened to conveniently get rid of a biohazard. So to say that they weren't in on it, I would say is a naive at best. Plus the fact that they add fluoride in almost all municipal water supplies, which is a byproduct, which is a hazardous byproduct from the aluminum industry, which isn't a whole lot different than what's going on here with this poor fella. And I really feel for the guy. But this speaks to know your farmer, know your food, know the process. And this is all about, understanding and knowing these things. And, we're getting absolutely polluted from everywhere. We can take the headphones off now too. Well, now I can hear you.
Yes.
Not like I'm in the
That's kinda
dome of
nice.
silence.
Yes, it's kind of weird.
Isn't that better? Yeah.
So much
I don't know
better.
what's up. I gotta
So-
tell that.
Is that are you good?
Well, no, we can
Okay.
we can continue to
So do you want my take?
yeah, give me your
Okay, so
spin.
my take is this. If you shake hands and make a deal with the devil, don't be surprised if you get bit. And I mean, yeah, I feel bad for the guy, but not that bad, because this is the deal. You're putting some kind of government subsidized fertilizer that you have no idea what's in it. You're putting it all over your fields, and your animals are ingesting it, and then you're selling your animals. And that's not, there's better ways, there's better practices. You do not have to use those kinds of fertilizers. You don't have to use look for, if you must use a fertilizer, which I would argue that you don't have to use a fertilizer, but if you have to use a fertilizer, like we fertilize this year, and we contracted with a little local run place, and it's all rabbit fertilizer.
Liquid rabbit manure.
Liquid rabbit
awesome.
manure, totally
Super
organic,
awesome.
no chemicals in it. We know what we put on, and we only do that as needed. It's been several years since we put anything on our fields at all.
And they offer a liquid lime too. I'm kind of pumped about.
Yeah, but you have to, if you're going to run a business like Big Ag. He was trying to run a cattle business like Big Ag, putting all this junk fertilizer that's government subsidized on his fields, and then now he's taking government handouts for feeding his cattle, and there's just barely enough to get by. Yeah, you're making deals with the devil, dude. Time to watch Joel Salatin and figure out a new model, and you don't even have to figure it out because it's already figured out for you, and it doesn't have anything to do with spraying garbage on your fields. And
they've also proven that by rotational grazing, they can sequester a lot of that stuff back out of the soil now. It's going to take some time, but that's the problem of, you make mistakes and you learn from them. You try.
You're putting government crap,
human poop
on your field. I mean,
but yet the average guy can't recycle his gray water.
Right. We have farmers like that locally here that they run bigger ag type, not feedlot, but big ag, big, huge pastures. I'm talking like, 800 acres or more, and they can barely turn a dollar from it because there's no profit in something like that. And it looks to me that he was trying to kind of make it like a farm to table kind of deal, and make it like this hippie skippy kind of deal, and that he's responsible for it. And he's not. He's taking handouts from the government and spraying his fields with garbage. Like, do you feel bad somebody lost their farm? Yeah, but you're kind of dumb. Sorry.
Wow, where's your compassion, Faith?
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
I think you've been hanging out with the beast too long.
Came from the north.
The beauty's been talking to the beast.
I came from the north, y'all. My southern charm isn't all that it should be.
Well, yeah, this is why it's really important to know where your meat's coming from.
Absolutely.
To know the process, meet your farmer. And
ask all the questions. Did you fertilize it? What did you fertilize it with? All of those things matter. And, this speaks to also, we're eating a lot of meat, and, there's a lot of people out there promoting carnivore, promoting high protein diets, and saying nothing in the meat matters. Well, here our, worthless government is even saying, yeah, that meat's dangerous. So, I don't know. I just think that there's a little bit of a void in the carnivore and the meat-based diet people that act like there's no danger at all with totally contaminated meat.
Oh, of course there is. Yeah. Absolutely.
So
they're purist to the fact that, well, it's meat, so that's good enough.
Michelle said, I just hate too much of meat. I got too much energy.
That's a possibility. I never considered that. She is getting, maybe E.G. White was right. And if you eat meat, you'll just become fleshly and angry.
I just think that they were kind of trying to play to it like a certain way, and it's really not that way.
No, that's vice. No, that was the other thing I wanted to point out is, like, see how they boogeymanned it, and it was the big mean corporation, right? And here the EPA is like, oh, we didn't know, right? Like, oh, and they're up there in Michigan and they're using mega contaminated human poop to, well, what about Flint? Has the EPA solved the water problem in Flint yet? Still, the answer is still no. Okay, so thanks, EPA.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to take some kind of government subsidized fertilizer, spray it on all my food, and then try to sell it in a CSA and say, oh, this is farm to table, home crunchy mama food. No, you're spraying who knows what on it. Like, you have to be accountable for certain things, and I think it's very misleading to the small farmer business to say, and food to, you know, farm to table and all that movement to say, this is what I am, but you're spraying gov stuff on your stuff. And
yeah, well, even like us, just the way in these small communities, the way these idiots spray the roadside out here. You know, we got bees back here and everything, and these morons, just because they don't want to brush hog or weed eat, hey, don't do it. Leave it alone. Let it get. First off, in 2 more months, it's going to get so daggum hot, it's going to burn flat smooth to the ground. So you don't need to be dumping thousands of dollars of glyphosate all around my property. But, you know, it's like the same thing. It's just,
well, they're cool with those
death
chemicals.
by 1,000 cuts. Yeah.
They're cool with those chemicals. They only nitpick at the ones that they can blame Ford and the auto industry for, and probably give them a big fat fine.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and they're going to sue those guys, and we'll see what happens. So, you know, and I certainly don't think it's cool that some company was dumping its toxic waste into the municipal water supply. Like, okay, second off, point 2, that was contractually done. You don't just get to dump your commercial toxic waste into the municipal water supply, and it's a municipal water supply that is always tested. So 3, they absolutely knew it was there as soon as they started doing it, or they were negligent, right? So as soon as that company started doing it, they knew it was there, which is probably why they started either selling or giving away the bio waste, because they knew that that would be the convenient, easy, simple way to get rid of it. And then eventually they just got caught doing it. But the EPA and the local municipality are absolutely part of and vested and part of the problem, and definitely made it this one silly fly just wants to keep.
And I think, you know, if truth be told, who knows what you're buying at the store anyway. I mean, when you're buying organic beef and all of that stuff, it's probably still got vaccinations, and it's got, you know, who knows what they're feeding it. You just, like you said, it's best to know who your farmer is, ask them all the questions. I know Larry next door says, I don't spray my fields. And he says, if anybody asks me why, he said, I'd rather have weeds than tumors. And it's the truth, you know. You have to know, especially if you're selling that to people and you're saying it's a certain way, then you can't be taking government subsidy. And the only reason you need government subsidy for your hay is because you're just not set up in a feasible way. Like, why does a legit business need government subsidies to operate?
Yeah, one more fly, Mom.
Oh, he's the fly.
Yeah.
He's the assassin.
Got him.
So anyway, yeah. Anyway, oh hey, my stuff on the farm store. Oh, that's cool.
What's that?
I don't know. Carlos is talking something about
some kind of pesticides were my potting mix too. Yeah, and I only have I only use organic. Yeah.
And then somebody up here was saying that, do we remember when the question was for you?
Oh, yeah, that was Bud. He was talking about the steroid implant that they used to put. Yeah, let's see.
With the steroids in the beef, and then it transferred to humans.
Ralgo implants, and then it transfers to humans. Just like all this other stuff with iron cleavages, things that supposedly localize when things are inserted into your skins, that comes from Big Pharma and all that stuff. Yeah. And that's not supposed to leach into whatever either, but it do, y'all.
Yeah.
So check out the Resnicki Farm, and if you want to help them out with the fundraiser, do that. I think it's profitable. Here's people that are trying to raise good food, and they have a great community. And if you're local there to Jones, Oklahoma, maybe sign up for next year's CSA, and just be an encouragement. Maybe just go to their website and tell them you're praying for them. I think that'd be kind of cool too. But I wanted to get his information out there. And if you want to finish the documentary by Vice, I think, and there's been a lots of new stuff out about Vice. I think they're going bankrupt or something. So that's kind of interesting too. Yeah, and absolutely, you should pray over your food. And even if it was perfect, God provided it for you. So you should, at a minimum, thank him for it.
Absolutely.
My brother, on the other hand, he thinks that you can buy McDonald's, and as long as you pray over it, I think he somehow, even though a lot of his theology is pretty good, somehow he believes that prayer when it comes to food in McDonald's is much more like a magic wand.
So can I pray over like Oreo cookies?
Well, of course, but
And
of course,
God will make them healthy for me.
in moderation.